far from what we've seen this season, seem to prefer that 3-3 kind of playstyle instead of being pushed onto DPS heavy. And obviously, well, kind of, it accommodates a lot of different sort of playstyles because you have traditionally seen things like the, oh, actually, is this, well, this is on Lighthouse.
No, this is Lighthouse. Sorry, that's my bad. Entirely going to be starting on Lighthouse.
They were showing well. They were first.
Okay, but moving on into this, we've got the 3-2-1, the Sombra variant of Goats. FG Mask already taking the lead in terms of ult charge, highly up on the high ground here. Taking to take a bit of an angle, avoid some of those incoming hacks as both teams start to move onto the point. This is where the metal's going to hit the floor. Yaoshi getting the first kill there, but Destiny coming in big with the equalizer. Piley down also. This is a very back and forth fight, but it looks like Flag Gaming might just have the upper hand here. As I say that, Pain able to come in and take Melons out of the fight, so there is not a lot of sustain on board for either of these teams coming in. Xiao Cheng over on the Zarya, getting rid of Keto as well. It is just the Sombra managing not quite to get out into Invis, falling into the path of Xiao Cheng. High charge coming out now from Xiao Cheng, and a rally online already from Destiny. Going to allow Bravlov a bit of time to get in and help keep this fight alive, and that's going to be Phantom Wizard taking the first point.
Yeah, it's worth noting here how Mask has already got his EMP while Pain is still coming onto his, so they could just use that to take back the next point. But I think it's really interesting how neither of these teams are very good at disengaging. They both kind of brawled that out, and that's how that fight sort of went on for a while, where you'd rather see a team kind of back out and come back once they have their down members back with them. Pilly already going down, which is going to be a shame as he has been pretty strong for this team thus far, so waiting for him to come back is probably going to have its repercussions for Flag Gaming. But as I say, wait for that EMP. Pain is building his very slowly, and actually so far from what we've seen this season, he's quite an inconsistent Sombra and not necessarily the most aggressive and assertive that you would like to see, so he does build his ult charge fairly slowly.
But I would have said that about Mask as well, up against in their last match, falling well behind ult charge of Ligue. Not quite able to get that, but in comes the Graviton Surge. We've got the Transcendence online from Keto. Shatter! Big Shatter comes out from Chaser. Not a huge amount of kills coming out of it. Bigger Shatter coming in from Melons, and the cleanup is good. The chase is on. Flag Gaming come back in and smash Phantom Wizard off the point on the back of 2 ults.
I'm glad for them they actually managed to make that work, because they used the Transcendence really early in that fight before Phantom Wizard had really brought much out, if I'm not mistaken. And so that could have been disastrous if Phantom Wizard had been a little bit more, assertive with the ultimates they use. But we have seen in, thus far this season, they use their ults very freely, so it's nice to see them holding back a little bit more.
Yeah, so Bravlov did use the Graviton Surge, though. It didn't look that effective, but the positioning here has allowed Phantom Wizard to get right in on top of that, take all the space in the world, and they're poised to come back and take the fight and take the point back over again. Great predictive play from Bravlov.
Bravlov has been probably one of the players on this roster that I've been fairly impressed with, because he's not really baited into give up his position to go aggressive, which is something we see Chaser doing a lot, and he plays the Diva a lot as well, and you often find that he doesn't really give up his positioning and get baited in. He likes to wait until he has those resources and uses them in a fairly valuable way, so he's certainly one to watch.
Yeah, well, there's the EMP out from Pain. Luckily, didn't hit Feng Mian, was able to get that sound barrier off. Piley coming in big, getting 2 on the back end of the EMP, and Flag Gaming come right back in and flip that around. This is one of those maps that seems to be bouncing back and forth between these two teams every time they make an approach.
Yeah, very much so, and it's because these two teams are both very brawly, as we kind of said, and neither of them are particularly clear and robust in how they do their execution. It's sort of like, okay, let's try this ult and see if it works, and the other doesn't really have as kind of, I want to say higher skill answer to deal with it. You know, neither of these Sombras are particularly standout, but now we're entering into one of these other brawls with the rallies. Yeah,
well, the rally and the shatter. Amy also throwing in the sound barrier just for good measure, and it's going to be Keto getting a quick double there. Feng Mian taking Pain down as well. Destiny still up, looking for targets to hit with that flail. Nobody in range. It's not going to stop them swinging the flow, because they will eventually connect with Pilly, and that's going to once more see the point flip around, and Flag Gaming have to get in quick if they want to take this round.
Yeah, that's something they haven't been very good at doing thus far, getting picked off on their way in. And Phantom Wizard do have those ults. They're just going to hit the 100% before they have to use them. Putting out the Grav and the Transcendence at the end there, of course, they didn't need it. And Flag Gaming, I think, just while those brawls were happening, they were just trying to expend the resources they had to sort of push through, rather than thinking a little bit more you know, strategically. And we've spoken about how Melons is generally quite passive, and it looked like they were making an effort to be a little bit more aggressive there, but didn't entirely know how to execute it. And that makes sense, right? If you're trying to change your playstyle up in one map, then yeah, of course, you're probably going to make mistakes, but it ended up being kind of the falling of them. So now entering into Ruins, they're going to be playing these mirror matchups once again.
I was a little bit hopeful we were going to get the Winston out there as well. An interesting wrinkle. But yeah, you give it too much damage doing that, and Shocheng's been a pretty consistent Zarya so far this season.
That's the thing with Shocheng.
High ground rotations for both teams. First kill of the game is going to go to Amy, taking Mask out of the fight already. Down goes Chaser, extending well away from his team, but now Melon's the same. Even the more passive of the two tanks getting taken down as well, and it's starting to mount up in favor of Phantom Wizard, once more coming in with a really dominant, clean fight.
Having Mask out the fight earlier is actually massive, because it's really going to set him back in terms of building up the EMP. But we've mentioned how Pain can be quite slow at building up his. He's fairly inconsistent on the Sombra, and so he has to utilize this opportunity to be able to build up his EMP way before the Transcendence or the EMP on the side of Flag Gaming is available to attempt to counter it.
Yeah, early pick though. Shocheng takes Pain out of the fight, so that hack is not going to be on board for Phantom Wizard. If Flag Gaming can aggress in here, we're not far off a couple of ultimates. Melons have been quite good at generating these, 83% and rising. Chaser down, Amy down also. Flag Gaming are going to be coming out of this in a really strong position with a couple of ults very close to being online.
I like the Phantom Wizard. They're not wasting their resources as much on this map when certain members are down, but Rivalab is very high energy, as we can see here, and that could be pretty dangerous as they come in. He's just waiting for some members of his team, and then he can use those bubbles to keep himself up there as he wars out with Shocheng here.
Yeah, it gets in a bit of a war of attrition there, with Shocheng has to back out behind the protective shield of the Reinhardt. Still not at full health, but going in anyway. We'll shortly have the Graviton Surge online. Pain has used the EMP. There's the Earth Shadow and the Graviton Surge. Shocheng, Pilot Melons all getting in on the action. Shocheng with the high energy, just going to melt down these targets, and we are going to see Flag Gaming hold on to the point for now.
But Bravolav does have his own Graviton, so that could be used when they come into the next fight, but they've got to watch out for the EMP from Mask. And again, of course, Pilly has got the Transcendence, so potentially that's something they're going to be looking to bait out. The question is how they're going to do it. The rally's going to kick things off.
Yeah. Rally comes in very early, Graviton Surge, but an EMP over the back hits 4, but crucially it doesn't get Amy, who has the sound barrier online, so pretty much nothing coming out of that ultimate combination. Phantom Wizard threw 2 at that fight and got absolutely 0 change. Flag Gaming also in a no ultimate situation. Got to watch out for this Shatter coming in from Chaser, just looking for the angle here. You can see them getting into this footsie battle with Melons, looking for the angle. Bravolav trying to burn down as many shields as they can. Chaser has finally committed that Shatter. Didn't do a huge amount. The sound barrier coming out from PkMnPanda though is going to buy all the space in the world for Flag Gaming to just keep wailing away in this fight.
I'm not sure the sound barrier at the end there from PkMnPanda was actually necessary, as they had won the fight fairly decidedly at that point. And with just a few percent to go, it's unlikely the Phantom Wizard are going to be able to do much to actually change the course of this, so it's likely they're just going to go to the third point.
Yeah, well, 100 to 30, certainly a lot less close than we saw in the previous round, and having talked it up at the start of this match, we are now finally going over to Wells, so maybe we'll see something a little different to the 3-3 or the 3-2-1 that we've seen so far.
Potentially, but then again, I have said how these teams aren't really the kind of DPS favored teams. They generally like to stick to these 3-3 or, you know, variants of compositions, as we see the Sombra. Although Phantom Wizard, if they do come out on this is going to be kind of interesting. I mean, Chaser can't use his shift key to, you know, rush off to the other side of the map, which we've seen him do, especially last week, a couple of questionable times. Interested to see how Pain does on the McCree, because
oh man, they're coming out with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not obviously going to have the same responsibility as Sombra, where you have to do those full flanks, but he is going to have to be watching out on those side routes that the teams can rotate through.
Yeah, nice
Shocheng on Pharah is also like, he's a very good projectile DPS, and they need to be watching out.
Yes, I mean, Pain coming out on McCree is great if they can actually find the angles to hit Shocheng here, because at the minute, they are just bottled up in this room. Ravalov does manage to find Melons in that exchange, but Shocheng's still up. Wow, Yaoshi gets put into the pit or off the edge with the whip shot, so still a little bit... This could go either way still. Chaser managing to find Mask in the exchange. However, Shocheng's still up. Feng Lian's still keeping them alive. Phantom Wizard have got the first control. Shocheng getting close to that barrage, though.
I have to be honest, I have no idea what the position that Chaser was trying to go for there. He just seems to have his back to the enemies. I'm sort of amazed that he was able to survive. And now Phantom Wizard, they've had that anti-nade just put straight onto them. No one's going to come down as a result. But Shocheng has the barrage, so they want to be watching their backs. And there's a lot of responsibility and pressure being put on Pain here.
Yeah, it says a lot about...
Oh,
there's the barrage for you. Finds Destiny taken out by Chaser. Honestly, 1-for-1 on the barrage. Not the worst possible action you could find. Pain with a flashbang there, finding Mask as well. Both teams trading back and forth very, very quickly, but there was enough space for Feng Lian to get in and find Shocheng, bringing them back in. Pain, very low, does manage to get the kill onto Melons with a bit of help from Keta. They're going to be coming out of that with the high noon ready to go. The point does flip over to Flag Gaming, but are there enough bodies from Flag Gaming to keep possession of the point?
Well, here is one of the really big issues, is Flag Gaming are getting in these positions where actually, in theory, they should be able to take the fight really easily, and they're just not. They're just allowing themselves to be taken back in return, and they need to be more, I've said it before, but more assertive, and this is a problem we saw with BTRG as well when they played them last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Flag certainly still looking very passive here, although Shocheng still doing a bit of work. Nothing coming out of that self-destruct from Ravalov, however, going to get back into the mech now. Flashbang, not quite the range on that Pain maybe expects it to. 23% climbing for ultimate, just looking to try and dink some of these targets from the backline, getting pressured on both angles, does get hacked, not the worst possible situation, doesn't take a huge amount of utility offline, but a barrage absolutely will take all of your utility offline, but only one kill out of it. Chaser there to get rid of Piley as well, Feng Lian bringing Mask back into the fight, 52% and climbing for Flag Gaming, and the point is going to get very close to flipping over here, but they may just be able to brawl this out if they can keep this DPS in, keep these angles in, keep putting your feet onto the point, keeping it alive, buy as much time as you possibly can to get these kills, as Shocheng finds Amy as well. Chaser just managing to pop 45 before the hack comes in, able to pile that damage over onto Melons, who's kept alive with a pocket mercy in the back, keeping them in the fight, getting very close to the primal rage, which is going to be absolutely huge if they can get this angled over in towards the pit to start getting a few kills. Gets focused down, gets stunned, gets deleted. Keto and Chaser with a follow-up, taking Mask and Melons out of the fight, but Flag Gaming still have control of the point. They've not been able to flip this back over yet, Phantom Wizard, which is exactly what they want out of this. They want to keep this going as long as possible. Phantom Wizard, they may finally be in a position, if they can get rid of that one pesky mercy, to flip this point over. We're still in the fight, Geo.
Wow, that fight went on for so long, and I actually think one of the really kind of big reasons the Flag Gaming are suffering here is the fact that they're dealing so many resources into Melons to try and sustain him. The Nano, he's using the Primal Rage to survive rather than to, you know, be offensive. But the thing is, as I said earlier, he's not used to being aggressive, so he's still being, you know, caught out and taken down. And so it's almost like these resources are being wasted on their main tank, even though, of course, you want to keep the main tank up. He just doesn't really know how to do it.
Well, there's the high noon, instant dive, smashed by a Gorilla. Pain didn't get a chance to get anything out of that. Melons with the Primal Rage, managing to not get much more with that. In the meantime, big bomb from the boy Bravalav takes out the flying duo, but Flag Gaming, whilst all that's going down, the tank line able to get a nice couple of kills and absolutely blast Phantom Wizard right back off the point. So at 96, that's going to be pretty much it for Phantom Wizard, unless they are super quick. The size of that predictive dart, though, coming out from Philly, stopping the contest. Absolutely massive as Flag Gaming take Ilion.
That was, I mean, I don't know, it just felt like one of those fights where even if someone won the fight, it didn't really mean that the point was being flipped. Naori, what do you think?
There is so much to say about the map that just happened. I think one of the biggest things that I want to talk about is the first two maps that we saw with the 3-2-1 matchup. Particularly, I want to talk about the risk-reward with running a Sombra. The biggest risk, of course, being that you no longer run the Diva, so you've cut out a lot of damage mitigation. And that means that your Sombra needs to be doing a lot. They need to be getting accurate hack targets. They need to be building that EMP as quickly as possible to give you that win condition. And what we saw from both Sombras was kind of lackluster Sombra play. It wasn't as clean as it could have been. And of course, there was also fantastic reads from both Lucios, knowing exactly when Sombra was going to have EMP. And that, of course, is the biggest counter to your win condition. If Lucio isn't in your EMP and he beats, you've basically wasted your EMP. And that happened consistently. So there's a massive high risk, high reward thing there with the Sombra going on. I'd actually like to see these teams back onto the classic 3-3, because it's something that we know they do perform a little bit better on in that just standard 3-3 matchup. I think if they're going to continue to run the Sombra, what I will say is the Sombra worked out exceptionally well, in fact. Just being able to use the crossfire damage from the Pharah and the Sombra to create space and create openings and really mess with that McCree and make sure that he couldn't get any value.
It really felt like on Well that Shochang was trying so hard to sort of carry the team. And the thing with Shochang's Pharah is it could always do more. When you see him go up against other Pharahs, like when he was up against Cloud last week, it was so obvious he was being outplayed. And because he was kind of trying to carry the whole thing on his back, it just wasn't enough, especially with what I said about Melons just kind of not making the most of the resources that he was receiving. You need everybody on the team to, of course, be adding the same amount of value to the plays you're trying to do. And it was really just kind of Shochang getting scoliosis from trying to, carry the team on his back.
And of course, the other thing about value is making sure you get value out of your ultimates. A big issue with Flag Gaming has been the overcommitment of ultimates.
Yeah, but we're going to be seeing a little more from both of these teams. We're going to be taking a short break, but don't go too far, because we're going to be back with another map from Flag Gaming v Phantom Wizard. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had time to grab a drink and a bite to eat, because you're not going to want to be leaving your seat in this next one. We're going to be going over to Vorskaya for map number 2, Flag Gaming taking that first map. Not what you would call convincingly. It seemed very back and forth, taking us to the third round. It's still everything to play for.
Yeah, I mean, as I kind of mentioned at the end there were certain fights where you expected one of the teams to come out on top, but then the control point would still be owned by, controlled by one of the teams. Like, for example, there were times where I thought Phantom Wizard were winning a fight, but Flag Gaming were maintaining that control. So it's kind of that difference between, okay, we're fighting or we're going for the objective. But it looks like Keto is actually going to be subbed out in this next map, which is fairly interesting. Going to be going for a different flex support there.
Yeah, interesting, because Keto seem to be doing pretty well through that map. It makes me wonder if they're going to switch up their approach. Maybe they want to move away from the Zen here, have something a little bit different. Who knows? Could be seeing any number of things. Yeah,
because what I find interesting about that is Keto plays both Zen and Ana, so it kind of suggests that there's not going to be a flex support. Maybe they would run a double main support, or even just go for one support and then go for a more DPS heavy composition. I mean, I suppose we'll have to kind of wait and see, but the fact that Keto can play both of those flex supports leads me to believe that they're not going to be going for that, which is kind of strange, because Volskaya, especially on defense, is very friendly to double flex support. So we'll wait and see. I reserve my judgment until we actually find out what is going on there, but I don't know. I was going to say I'm just kind of expecting, especially Phantom Wizard on the attack, just to continue to run Rien Zarya. They'll probably keep Bravolav on the Zarya and then basically be watching Chaser's back. And this is where we could start to see maybe some of the flaws come out from Chaser, because obviously what you sort of want is the Reinhardt to gradually lead your team through that choke point. But Chaser, I would very much believe that he would get to the lorry, the truck, and be like, right, I'm off. Let's go.
This is the thing, like, if you're gonna call yourself Chaser and then literally behave as if you are a dog who has seen the ball being thrown into the midst of the enemy team and literally chase it, then you're not calling yourself sticks with the team.
Oh, actually, we're not going to have Bravolav. Seeing a sub come in now, it's going to be 1010, who I'll admit is not a player that I really know anything about. So I actually assume that this probably will end up being DPS heavy. And actually, if we end up seeing Flag running like a bunker defense, obviously we don't know who's going to start on the defense and the offense, but if we're seeing a bunker defense, it could be that they're just the Phantom Wizard just want to try something where they're like, okay, we don't want to rely on our main tank, we don't want to play a composition that revolves around him, so we're just kind of gonna go in for that damage. which it's a decision for certain. I mean, yeah, it's a thing. Maybe we'll see a wrecking ball. I don't know who 1010 is. I don't know really what he does. So
no,
he's
this
an
is
enigma.
a real wild card moment, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
well, okay,
sure.
let's see what this one does, and
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe we'll get double main tank. We could get anything here, really.
Because the thing is Flag Gaming, I say, or maybe they'll run bunker, but Melons' Orisa is not the best Orisa, and so he would probably be better off staying on a Reinhardt on this map. But again, we just don't know. I mean, maybe they'll just go dive. I'm actually just kind of sitting here and I'm like, I want to see what they're gonna do.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult because if you are a sort of passive Winston or a passive Reinhardt, if you're ever going to play an Orisa who is already difficult to actually aggress with, you can't do that in a passive fashion on a passive character. So yeah, I would be scared to see the Orisa coming out here.
He is not really the best at kind of balancing the resources of Orisa, and that's often when you see Orisas that don't particularly do as well, that is what it comes down to. There's a time and a place for using the Fortify, there's a time and a place for using the Halt when you can kind of combine with someone else. The Fortify is obviously more for that self-defense. You don't want to have those environmental CC abilities just added onto you. And of course, my pet hate is Orisas who use a supercharger at the wrong time, but that's more of a diamond thing than it is a professional thing. But this is, I believe, the green is Flag Gaming still. Looking like that, just going to be sticking to Sombra Goats is what it looks like, and then, well,
this is it's the mirror matchup again, isn't it?
Hey, look, Keto's there. They lied to us.
Oh, Keto is back on the Anna now. Yeah, well, 10-10 now in for Forever Lab's going to be on the Zarya role, and we've got the rotation here coming onto the high ground so they can challenge the currently set up position of Phantom Wizard over on top of the bunker. Nice charge across. It's a classic. Pain over the background does get a hack off. Not able to find too much by way of follow-up. Shochang staying alive through all that. 10-10 being forced back into that mega health pack area. Shochang still keeping the high ground. Very smart positioning from the Zarya here. Able to just pile in that damage pretty much uncontested. And the rotation through to touch point is not coming out from Phantom Wizard. They're letting themselves be completely bottled up. This is very passive. Oh, what they have got is a nano boost coming out already onto Chaser, taking the damage. Hacked out still, has the hammer online, but not able to necessarily find the damage they would like. Shochang is still up here, uncontested, able to just beam down these targets. Chaser has a lot of resources piled in them to keep themselves alive. 10-10 has to back off also. I actually like this coming out from Phantom, but that is a big old shatter out from Melons. Not anywhere near as passive as we were maybe expecting from them, and that is going to be Flag Gaming flipping the point and now heading over to the slightly warmer insides of point 2.
Well, Flag Gaming were just given straight from the get-go way more space on their attack. We had Pilly in the back dealing in so much, shield damage that they were able to just push Phantom Wizard straight back because Phantom Wizard hadn't spread themselves out. They just set themselves up in an area, and then they rely on their support so much because Keno's a fairly decent flexible, and Amy, of course, ex-runaway player. They had to wait for those resources.
Graviton Surge, and it looks a little like Chaser ran into that big shatter on the high ground out from Chaser. Not able to find anything but the charge, the follow-up there. A lot of resources again going into Chaser, taken down. Flag Gaming, they have the numbers, they have the HP, they have the positioning to take this in one solid push. Phantom Wizard need to get on and start contesting, but they're already giving up 2 ticks. Pain on the point, has the EMP ready to go. Going to go for a last second contest. As the EMP throws it in, gets 2 and a sleep onto Feng Lian, but Feng Lian once more missed out by the EMP, so has the sound barrier there to just completely mitigate any value out of that. Flag Gaming managed to take down Chaser and 10-10. Even with the Graviton Surge thrown in, there's just nothing there to follow it up. And we've just got that one poor lonely Lucio trying to contest the point, whip shot it off, and that is going to be Flag Gaming with a pretty healthy time bank on that.
Yeah, they used that Graviton Surge at the end there, but there were only, I think, 3 members of Phantom Wizard on the point, so they just couldn't really deal anything into them. And there were actually a couple of instances like that where they sort of put in something and there wasn't the follow-up. We saw actually just before PkMnPanda used his sound barrier, there was an anti-nade that was landed onto the team, but nothing to go into that, no follow-up on that, and so they're expending their resources without trying to capitalize on them, and then they're in a position where they don't have those resources anymore, defensively or offensively, and then that's where Flag Gaming, can then move in and do what they want. I also have to point out, I don't know if I mean, you must have seen, but it was hilarious when we saw Chaser. Chaser used his Earthshatter up on the top catwalk, and then he went for a charge, but then Melons also charged him from behind. So it's just 2 Reinhardts going along the catwalk like this. I thought it was the funniest thing. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But and it actually, interestingly, it sort of reminds me of something that I really noticed about both of these teams, actually, but last week, is that they're both not very spatially aware. Like, they'll focus on one thing and then not be really following what's going on around them. It almost even on point A of this map, you know, when Phantom Wizard were being forced back into the side room, Pain was just messing about upstairs. He wasn't actually trying to do anything against the team that were pushing his team back.
Yeah, it's certainly a thing that I noticed last week against the DPS composition that Billy were throwing at them. They just seem spread too thin without a huge amount of means to combat that. Wow, this is certainly a comp coming out from Flag Gaming. Melon's managed to get an early kill onto Pain, who's now playing the Brig. Interesting that we've also got Destiny playing the Hanzo here, so a little bit more DPS friendly from these teams this time.
Yeah, I mean, Hanzo isn't too uncommon on Volskaya because he can sort of, you know, obviously having the sniper is very useful on this map, but he can lunge between those landmarks as well and sort of take care of himself a little bit. I do find the Flag Gaming composition interesting. Melon's not necessarily who I would associate with playing Monkey, but he does actually already have his Primal Rage, and if he can knock everyone off that top up there, then this could throw chaos into Phantom Wizard.
Yeah, nice bit of support there from PkMnPanda with the damage boost means that they've already got that Primal Rage. Out it comes. Yaoshi gets the opening salvo. Keto, Pain, and Destiny all taken down in fairly short order. We see the D-Mech come through onto Yaoshi, left alone in
Chaser.
Pilot Diva form. Chaser not quite getting the kill taken out by the Pilot Diva form, but really that was a kill you could have taken on the way down.
It's like, don't cleave into the Baby Diva and then charge into the front of Valori and then turn around and walk into Shochang. Like, I don't know. I'm not a pro player, but that's not the strat I would have gone for.
In Chaser's defense, Pilot Diva is a very small target. It can be very easy to miss.
A very big hammer can knock her out. Trust me. I don't even play Rien and I know these things.
Oh, another nice initiation with a bit of help there from Yaoshi. That dive from Melons, getting pretty much everybody. What a just clean. No resources expended except the jump. That was massive.
Yeah, I mean, just as Phantom Wizard are all kind of trying to rotate through this small entranceway, Flag Gaming are all kind of working together to obviously pounce on them. The shield isn't really being turned around, so the cleave goes in from the Winston, but then we also have assists from the Ana and from the Sombra.
Yeah, we've got 2 Graviton Surges online. 1010 has theirs ready to go, but of course, Xiaocheng, no slouch on the Zarya, has theirs ready to go also. Both of them, I think, looking for where to stick this particular P on the plate. Not managing to find an angle for it just yet as Phantom Wizard rotate onto point. There is the first one. Keto coming in with the Transcendence, going to keep them alive through that. Big Shadow comes out from Chaser. 1010 gets the first kill. Melons has a couple of people bullied over in the corridor. May just about to get the kill onto. No, doesn't get it. Pain in the back managing to take Melons down. This is absolutely where this flips over. 1010's going to be coming in still. Has the Graviton Surge ready to go. Might not need to use it. Phantom Wizard definitely in control of the point. Just trying to get this clean up now. Focusing down the Mercy, not quite able to get it as they duck in behind. No, there we go. Walking right past that Zarya shield, just getting the Mercy out of the fight. So Phantom Wizard have finally capped the point here, but worth noting, already down in time from Flag Gaming.
Yeah, Fengmian resurrecting Shochain there was actually a massive mistake because it just fed over ult charge, and it means Phantom Wizard now coming into this next point with 4, starting things off with the rally, but watch out for Amy using the sound barrier. There we
Big
go.
old EMP, but once again, Amy, nowhere near that EMP, has the sound barrier ready to go. Here's a much bigger one, Fengmian, not caught in that this time, but doesn't have the sound barrier, so, you know, it's something at the very least. But Phantom Wizard, they've come in big, they've come in strong. Keto getting 2 already, and we need to start to see these staggers getting a little bit more close together, as we've got a high charge Zarya getting burst down by 10-10, and what's 1 tick captured already. Flag Gaming already coming in with some of these stall picks. Yaotier already in on the Wrecking Ball. Hacked, going to be very difficult for them to survive, not able to use that adaptive shield. Does get in, chased down by Amy. 6 on the point, Phantom Wizard. We're going to go to round 2.
I'll be honest, I was fairly impressed there because, you know, Phantom Wizard, they used all of their ultimates to get onto the point. I thought maybe this could go wrong, and actually the Nano Boost was used onto Shochain on the side of Flag Gaming to try and keep him alive. He went down really early, and then that meant that Phantom Wizard could keep bringing things up. So, Naori, here again, what are you thinking?
Hey, it's me. The biggest thing that's kind of stood out to me is Flag, particularly from what we saw last week, were looking like a very passive team. And that's something we've actually brought up a couple times on this broadcast. But their first attack was anything but passive. They were so strong. They really, really pushed through there, putting in a lot of resources into Melons there, and really using everything, all of their cooldowns and all their abilities massively to their advantage, and pushing in so strong that there was just nothing that Phantom could do to kind of stave it off. And it was a little bit of a roll as well. There was like a really good defense over on second point, and despite that, they still managed to push in with very little pushback from Phantom. And then when it swapped around, the passiveness that we were so used to, that we kind of expected, and that we thought, well, if they play that a little bit better, maybe they'll be able to hold a bit better. They won't be too aggressive. They won't do silly things. And what they actually wound up doing was over-aggressing a little bit. They did hold for quite some time, and they held quite well. But once we got onto that second point, Amy is an actual god. Managing to dodge that EMP, and it's what I spoke about a little bit earlier with the Sombras as well. Just making sure that your support can do that, it's huge.
Yeah, well, we are already in game. Phantom Wizard on the attack again this time. Chaser took a lot of damage early on in that fight. Melons
making the same rotation.
A lot of that. Yeah, and they were caught out doing this, 3 times in the last round? It seems like it's a little bit more successful this time. They haven't been smashed by the Winston coming in, but Shochang does find pain. Mask gets taken down for the equalizer. Phantom Wizard are still in here. They're not backing out. They're going to try and force this rotation, but Keto gets taken down also, so they are in real dire straits now, because with the res coming in onto Mask, they are just trapped in here and feeding over ult charge.
The interesting thing that they sort of tried there is they went through to attempt the rotation. They sent Keto in first so he could provide the healing while Chaser had his shield actually turned outwards, which he didn't have last time. And then they changed their mind because they saw an opportunity, but then the opportunity kind of came back and bit them as Flag Gaming managed to take kills off the back of that, and in comes this Nano Boost.
Yeah, Nano Boost over onto Melons, who's just going to try and cleave through as much as they can. Already 50% of the way to the ultimate, having used one in the previous fight, is great. Now they're coming around the back looking for some of those delicious supports to pluck off the tree and force out of the fight. Phantom Wizard finally with a foothold on the point, and Melon's going up there onto the high ground to try and pressure Keto into a worse position. Big Hack comes through, finds 3, doesn't get Amy this time, but Amy not in a position to actually put the sound barrier anywhere useful, holds onto it. No, they've lost Chaser, but the sound barrier comes in. They decided they want in on this fight. The Graviton Surge there, I believe that's what triggered the sound barrier, but it was already a lost fight.
I actually think the sound barrier came out in anticipation of Shochang using that. I think it came out before the Graviton Surge. But the interesting thing is Shochang got hacked before the EMP came out to prevent him from using the Graviton Surge. So that's why Mask ended up using that EMP. And then Phantom Wizard just didn't have enough to deal with that, followed by the Graviton Surge. And I'm wondering if maybe it would have been better for them to just have the quick death to the Graviton and then come back again.
Yeah, well, no defensive all online for Flank Gaming. We've got a Graviton Surge used to no real effect. Piley in the background, able to find Keto, and Melons with another Primal Rage finds Destiny, also trying to get some of those environmental kills to also deal with Chaser. Now, this Reinhardt-Winston matchup is normally one that goes in favor of a Reinhardt, but Melons is really making this work for them, even having fallen at the end of the fight there.
Melons is receiving a lot of support, and he did in Ilios as well, but he's using it so much better in this map. Now, one thing that I think is really worth mentioning is the fact that there's no one on Phantom Wizard who's dealing with Pilly on the Ana. Pain could, in theory, go up and hack him, but, you know, there's no one to dive him. Of course, you bait out the sleep dart, then you can go and dive the Ana. Yeah, you can get, you know, anti-naded. There is that sort of danger when you dive an Ana, but the point is, at the moment, she's just left for free reign. So she's dealing in damage, she's helping heal her team.
Ooh. As a big EMP finds 4. Nano Boost does come out. Shatter thrown in, puts 2 on the ground. Chaser managing to do a lot of work for his team there, and it's going to be the Diva and the Mercy left on the point, trying to keep this in contestation as long as possible. Yaoshi gets demeked, and it's time for a last-ditch attempt at the Battle Mercy. Might get a kill here if you're very lucky, but sorry, good try, PkMnPanda. That is going to be Phantom Wizard finally capping point A.
Yeah, it's going to be in overtime though, so they're not going to have very much time as they head into the next point, just given half a minute to actually do it, and right now they don't have anything but the sound barrier on the board. Keto actually switching over to the Ana here, so potentially he's going to be playing for that nano boost as well, give it to Chaser so that he can go out and have these really aggressive fights like we've been seeing Melons doing. But Flag Gaming... Pretty much, yeah. Flag Gaming are already much better equipped because they already have the Graviton Surge and the EMP, which is pretty much the winning combination when you have such little time.
Oh, beautiful Graviton out from Shocheng means a lot of them grabbed off the point, buys a lot of time for damage to come in. PkMnPanda takes Chaser down with the sound boot, and that is going to be pretty much everything. Phantom Wizard only able to cap point A, so we're not going to be going any further. It's going to be one more to see who takes Volskaya, even. I forgot the name of the map in the middle of the map.
At the very best, Phantom Wizard can hope for a draw, but we saw Flag Gaming on their first round do it very quickly. So, unless things change, I'm not expecting this to come out in favor of a draw. And the fact that Phantom Wizard went for the same attack strategy that they did the first time round, even though they knew it didn't work, doesn't lead me to believe that they're really going to be making many strategical adaptations to what we saw in the first round when they were defending. And obviously, just to reiterate, what happened was they were all kind of positioned on top of that middle room, and they just got completely pushed off. They used their resources, and so they were forced back into a side room, just waiting for their supports to build up their ultimates so then they could at least attempt to push forward. And, you know, we've mentioned how Amy and Pilly have been fairly good on the side of, oh, not Pilly, sorry, Keto, on the side of Phantom Wizard have pretty much been, they're probably the heroes, or sorry, the players that we've been giving the most praise to. When you rely that hard on just 2 members of your team to even allow you to put up some kind of a defense, that's a precarious spot to be in. And it actually looks like they're set up on that middle room once again, so could be a similar thing. Melon's going to be coming out on the Reinhardt. They're actually going for a rotation now, but already Shocheng, like, high energy.
A beautiful bait there from Shocheng. They knew that the fire strike was coming. They knew they just had to wait for it and got it, and got a nice big chunk of charge there. But this is exactly the rotation we saw from Flight Gaming last time. I expect a charge across the gap from Melon sometime in the next couple of seconds, and they used this really well last time. They forced Phantom Wizard off the high ground and then just stayed there. Particularly Shocheng stayed up there and just started piling in that damage from on high. Melons has taken a lot of damage here, throws in a fire strike, doesn't actually connect with a target. Shocheng has opted to stay up on the high ground, as we expected. Rotation from Phantom Wizard not coming out necessarily all from this mega health pack room, although they're gonna have to, because they are just giving over point progress, and they've not gotten out of this time to generate a nano boost. so they've got to do something quick. Pain gets in a
Wow.
world of pain themselves,
Lucky.
gets stunned. Yeah, it was, that really could have gone the other way so quickly. Shocheng, 67% and climbing on this ultimate. That's absolutely their win condition. They don't need to do a huge amount there. Amy finally opting to come in and offer a contest. Phantom Wizard have done just enough to force Flag Gaming back for now.
They have, but they don't need to worry too much. The rally's coming in there. Oh, the Earth Shatter!
Yeah, big shatter out from both sides there. Transcendence used, rally used from both sides. Also, as those particle effects start to clear, we're going to be coming out with another big EMP. Finds 2 on Flag Gaming. And here's the counter. It's an even bigger one. Finds 5, but once more, Amy, MVP of surviving EMPs, looking pretty good. Going to buy all the space in existence for Phantom Wizard to keep this fight going. 3 minutes left for Flag Gaming.
That EMP from Pain wasn't the ideal EMP, but the fact that Phantom Wizard then actually went for the hacked targets first before then moving on to the others pretty much is what secured them that fight at the end there. And Melons really got caught out as Keto did the second Transcendence. It meant that he just didn't really have any legs to stand on. But, oh, look at 1010. He's actually getting ready to use this Graviton. Maybe he's going to do it on the underside.
Here we go. Oh! They got caught out! Shocheng found them. 1010 and Amy taking down Chaser as well. Shocheng definitely got the better of that exchange. And 1010 did use the grab in that fight, but to zero effect. Pain is still alive in the backline, but being chased down by a Brig with a Vendetta. Piley getting the better of Keto. 2 minutes, 40 seconds left to go. Almost got a rally online for Flag Gaming. This is going to feel pretty bad for Phantom Wizard right now.
I really thought that he was going to use the Graviton on the underside of the bridge so that they were stuck to the top of it. But no, he got bait and switched, and so they jumped down, and they knew he was there. So now, this next fight, as you say, 2 minutes 20 just to get one tick. This is going to, force Phantom Wizard to be a bit more aggressive. I want to see this Earth Shatter.
Oh, that's a nice one out of Pain there. Able to get 4 with that. 1010 and Chaser able to get the follow-up, build themselves a nice little chunk of ult charge coming into that. Chaser with a really nice Earth Shatter on the back of that EMP also.
Okay, there's still some time, and the fact that they have their Transcendence on the board is optimistic because so far, as I said, Keto and Amy, they've been kind of the ones to watch on this team, sort of holding the rest of the team up. So the fact that Keto can use that, but it's going to have to be in response to the EMP most likely. So want to be looking for decent positioning. You can see Mask already making sure that the supports are hacked out.
Yeah, oh, Melons gets the opening pick with Destiny going down. The EMP comes out, doesn't find Keto, who's able to pop in that Transcendence, but it might not have been enough as we see the kills start to come in from Flag Gaming. Melons taking a little second to wish well to his enemies. Yeah, it's not enough though, and that is going to be Flag Gaming also taking Volskaya, going 2-0 in the series.
There were some hopeful moments, but dreams are crushed.
Yeah, but to walk us through what's happened, let's go back to our wonderful analyst, NaoriMizuki. Naori, what was going on in that? Tell us about it.
So something that I noticed kind of throughout both rounds was that Flag have been doing quite well to punish Phantom's mistakes. Whenever somebody's out of position, particularly someone like Chaser who has this affinity for charging into interesting areas, they manage to kind of deal with that quite effectively, and it does give them a massive one-up in that matchup. And then, of course, something that I really noticed from Flag was particularly on that second round, their first attack, they don't seem to be fans of disengaging. And they used a lot of ultimates and they wasted a lot of them. But despite that, managing to come through somewhat dry in the next fight, I suppose catching out the Zarya there under the bridge definitely worked in their favor. But had that not been a misplay from 1010, they may actually not have been able to take that point. So in a sense, it worked out for them that they were able to kind of really take control of that. Somebody that I really want to point out is Mask, who does seem to be showing up. The ult charge on that EMP has been a lot better, and of course getting that hack onto the Lucio before the EMP to just kind of solidify that there would be no more sound barrier for you was really well played there. Didn't get the Zen with the hack, but it didn't matter. Zen didn't have the Transcendence and was quite an easy attack there for Flag Game.
It certainly looks like, especially on Flag's attacks, that one thing that they're pretty much trying to do is, okay, we're going to give Melons all this stuff. So, for example, on their second attack, or the second round first attack, what I saw from them was, as soon as they use the speed boost to get over that jump, immediately back onto the healing aura, repair pack, bubble, all these things, which the first time worked immediately, straight away. But on the second time, it didn't work out. And so that meant that Flag obviously then had to disengage. They weren't able to take that fight and had to come back again. And they have to wait for those cooldowns to be back before they're able to take the fight again. The issue is that Phantom Wizard were not able to then aggress and take that opportunity while those cooldowns were on cooldown.
Yeah, well, that is going to be us at match point. So we've got at least one more coming up after a very short break. So don't go too far, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. Getting ready to go into map 3 of Flag Gaming v Phantom Wizard. So this is technically match point. Flag Gaming, they take this, they take that coveted W. So Phantom Wizard, if they're going to give us a reverse sweep, it's got to start now.
Yeah. I mean, we are moving on to a slightly different map type, but I don't know. It doesn't fill me with a lot of hope, especially as it's so brawly. And the thing is, Phantom Wizard have proved that they're not very good at winning out those brawls, no matter whether they're in the advantageous position. They can't really take back a lost fight, that's for sure. And so on those payload maps, it's all well and good if you're having a fight on the payload, maybe not even off the payload, but it's all well and good if you're having a fight on the payload. But if you actually can't push the other team off the payload, then you're not going to get it anywhere. So I'm tentative to see how Phantom Wizard are going to do on it. And we, just saw in Volskaya how passive their defense was, just how willing they were to give up space. And this is the type of map where you really don't want to do that, because it's not about controlling a point, it's about bringing a moving object with you. And if they are just that willing to give up space and allow Flag Gaming to be taking these high grounds and taking these positions and catching them off guard and whatnot, then I don't really have much optimism for Phantom Wizard. But, unbiased caster, I think this could go either way.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Phantom Wizard coming into this as being very much the underdog in a lot of these matchups, and the fact that they're making Flag Gaming, who have a bit more of a pedigree behind them, work for a lot of these points, I think is a definite benefit if you're Phantom Wizard. If you're looking for bright spots to take out of this, I think that's definitely one that you can. Ooh.
Oh, not doing changing.
Yeah, well, get debated sometimes. Sometimes it is like that, so we're coming out with...
keeping on the Pharah, though.
Yeah, that's good. Gives you a lot of angles to play here.
Yeah, and obviously... Well, I was just going to say, obviously you can push down the defensive team using the concussive blast, which they have just done, which is immediately going to disrupt Phantom Wizard's defense, which is exactly what I said would happen, because Phantom Wizard are not very good at then taking back that space.
Yeah, and I mean, Flag Gaming are just absolutely pushing Phantom Wizard where they want them at the minute. Already cooped up in that room, both exits being controlled by a Winston and a Pharah, both of whom are just piling in damage, pretty much uncontested. As we see half the point tick over already as Phantom Wizard still, it looks like they're trying to get Keto up to this nano boost so they can get in and recontest, but you've given up 2 ticks in order to do that. Keto is going to have the nano boost, but giving up 2 ticks to get that online and then getting barraged out of existence for Pain. Chaser with a beautiful fire strike does get Shocheng out of the fight, has the nano boost thrown onto them already, but reverts to playing Captain Rectangle, not opting to pile in a huge amount of damage. Keto gets taken out by Yaoshi on the high ground. There's Melons getting rid of Amy as well, and Yaoshi is going to be pretty much uncontested up here. Oh no, wait, Destiny has a Hanzo of their own, but a dragon already from Yaoshi right into the waiting masses, finds Chaser, flips the point open, and now it's cleaner.
I just have the most unimpressed face right now, because
resting unimpressed
yes,
faces.
I've
accused you of it before.
The thing is, it's almost like Phantom Wizard are just trying to deal with the Pharah because she's the most loud and obvious one, and then completely forgetting that there's 2 other DPS heroes that are being played by Flag Gaming, not going at all against Yaoxie. And so, what was Destiny do? I really am just very like, there is more just beyond what you see in your immediate vision, i.e. the main tank that's in your face. And they just don't seem to have any kind of idea of the multi-dimensional way to sort of deal with anyone.
Oh man, Yaoshi on an absolute tear here. Yeah, nice grab. Doesn't really accomplish too much. And again, Yaoshi uncontested, Shoucheng uncontested. They've only got Destiny dealing with this. And Destiny doesn't seem to be able to do it because Yaoshi, once again, I think that's what 4 kills in the past minute for Yaoshi is absolutely huge. They're just not being dealt with at all. Shoucheng has a barrage ready to go. Probably doesn't even need to use it at this point. Keto does get rid of Fengmen, who obviously can't bring themselves back into the fight with that res ability. But there's so much pressure being put down, and an EMP barrage with the dragon over the top. Might have been an overcommitment. Keto immediately takes Shoucheng down. Chaser was already low. They didn't need the barrage just to get rid of Chaser. So a bit of an overcommitment from Flag Gaming, as it looks like Phantom Wizard might stabilize here.
That was a very opportunistic barrage because as the EMP came out, Shoucheng was like, okay, I'm going to do this now. But obviously it was quite long distance, which meant that there was a little bit of a fall off. And of course, it just kind of makes him a very easy open target. I really thought Shoucheng was going to stay on Doofus. I was like, I swear he was just on Doofus a second ago. But no, they're going to be switching over to the Sombra Goats because at this point, you see this quite frequently. You know, they've played the DPS for the first point. They've used their ults now. They're not going to try and build them up on a point that's not so ideal for it. And just going to be coming in with this more sort of classic composition where they can all kind of play together. And they are getting closer to the EMP as well. And they'll be able to follow that up way better once it's used.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a scrappy fight, but look how quickly Mask's charge has ramped up on that EMP. They're going to have that in the next fight. It doesn't matter if you've lost this one. You've still got 2 minutes, 30 seconds left to go. And this is exactly what Flag want. They want to be running this composition where you can just out-mechanic Phantom Wizard in the neutral fight and generate ultimates. But they've actually come out on top. I'm not quite sure how and when that flipped around.
When all of Phantom Wizard died. I mean, they got them stuck in a very small area where they were just able to outdo them. As you kind of said, you know, especially with the Brigitte in that small area, and Yaoshi is a much better Brigitte maintainer.
Yeah, Kefta gets the opener there. FG Mask going down already. Doesn't have the EMP. And we've got 10-10 with a nice bit of charge there, getting a couple of targets. Chaser has the Primal Rage falling very low. Might need to commit it to stay alive in this fight. They have done just enough that that's not necessary. So they're going to be coming out of that with 2 ults on the defense against 3 on the offense and getting closer to even more.
And once again, this is one of those situations where it's going to be on Keto to try and use that transcendence at the right time. And what we've kind of seen from Mask a lot in this series so far is he's been scouting out where the supports are before he does his EMP so he can try and get them, particularly Amy. So what we've seen is Keto actually trying to use the transcendence before Mask uses it. So I'd actually kind of like to see some bait here. Actually, we can see him in the back lane there where Keto is.
Yeah, 0 charge for Shoucheng at the minute. Doesn't matter. We're down to 4 alive for Phantom Wizard. Out comes the Graviton Surge from 10-10, but you've lost a good few members already. It's going to be very hard to make anything happen. And in fact, nothing happens through that because Melons just cleaves through the entirety of Phantom Wizard and pushes that payload all the way into point 2. But the chase is on. They want Keto. Keto goes down. Mask able to get that last kill in the back. And 10-10 separated, charged, turned into Jet.
I have been really unimpressed with 10-10's Graviton Surges, to be honest. He's been using them either in bad positions or at bad times. I mean, when he did it there were just so few members who were alive. He died as soon as it was done. It was sort of like he threw it out into the world and was like, you guys deal with this. I trust you. But really, what's anyone going to be able to do, especially when Flag Gaming were all there and able to follow it up? And now they have so many ultimates.
Out comes the self-destruct, and the only good that did was buying Shoucheng a little bit of ult charge, had the Graviton Surge, threw it in from the top row, jumped down, getting in with the high charge, trying to burn down whoever is left on the back of that, managing to get round on top onto the high ground, throws in the melee for click, pressures down both the tanks and the supports, managing to do a huge amount for the team, getting rid of Destiny also, and is already halfway towards their next Graviton Surge as the chase is on.
And in such a close range like that, you're in that situation where if you're a really high charge Zarya, it doesn't matter if you're shooting at a bubble because you'll get through that damage. But Mask is still holding on to this EMP. I expect he'll use it right at the end. Or not! They'll just get there.
Oh, no, you're right. Did just use it at the end. Really more as like celebratory fireworks than anything else.
Oh,
So we are
that's so strange.
going to be bringing our analyst back in to tell us a little bit about how that map went down.
She is muted.
Yeah.
Really interesting information, Naori, thanks.
Ha! My bad. All right, so quickly here, the biggest thing that I did notice was Phantom trying to run goats into triple DPS for a very long time. But it was a really great play because it forced Phantom to then have to swap onto the Winston so that Flag could come through with the Reinhardt goats. And that put them in a really, really fantastic position, particularly once we started moving towards third point. They got a great pick off onto the Zenyatta, which meant that they didn't have Transcendence available, used very few ultimates, baited out all of Phantom's ultimates in the weirdest possible position so that it got no value at all and managed to roll straight through onto third point. I think that was actually fantastic planning from Flag.
Well,
Yeah,
Naori,
it was-
thank you very much for your insights. We'll be coming back to you after this next map also, but we're going to be going over into Flag Gaming's attack round. Sorry, Flag Gaming's defensive round now.
We don't need them to have another attack. They've already
I know
shown.
what I'm doing. Yeah.
Already done that. They've already humiliated Phantom Wizard. But I've already forgotten what it was.
So toxic.
Oh, I was gonna say how, I mean, Naori mentioned how they just kind of rolled through third point, and I was kind of looking at the fact they still had this EMP that hadn't been used, and you don't really like seeing people hold on to, oh, nice dynamite. You don't really like seeing people hold on to ults too long, but they just didn't need it. But Flag Gaming actually going to be playing a spam sort of bunker defense. I mean, that Ashe is such a BM, but, you know, it's great because if you can aim, which Mask can, they bring
just
down
like
pain,
that.
but
Oh,
also throwing in the dynamite as well can go against the shield, which is we're now seeing Phantom Wizard changing their composition. They're actually going to be going for the Genji Sombra, of course, with the Ana. So they're going to be playing for the, EMP, Dragon Blade, Nano Boosted, and then that's how you can kind of dash through and bring all these members down. The only thing is you have to deal a lot of poke damage to actually build that up. And if the enemy team build their ultimates up faster, it's really going to stymie your progress.
Yeah, I mean, we were on board with Destiny there for a good 30 seconds, generating 15% ult charge is just the passive charge. It can be, if you can't get these angles, it can be too slow to actually generate. You might as well just run something a bit more predictable into it.
By the way, shooting into deflect is my favorite hobby. Wasn't my favorite Shou Chang play, not going to lie, but already Mask has the Bob ready to go.
Yeah.
Probably
Pilot
won't
gets the opener kill there. Nice.
waste it until Phantom Wizard try and make a harder engage, until there's more of them around, because that gives them a 7th member that they then have to deal with, bring down that 1200 HP. The Bob just sits there quite nicely with. Big juicy health bar.
Yeah. Yeah, Shou Chang with another kill. Bob in just to try and counter some of the hack that come through. It's a nice big nade out from Keto, who now has the nano boost ready to go, but not a lot there to combo it with. Chaser and Destiny do get a couple. Chaser also finds Melons. Shou Chang brought back into the fight. Will have this ultimate ready to go. May throw it in at the end. Not going to get the chance. Destiny in there to show him exactly who is boss. And Melon's going to be coming back in on the wrecking ball. They're going for a last-second contest just to burn off as much time as possible, or is this a change in strategy? No,
They're
it's
probably
a time
just
burner.
trying to burn time.
Yeah, it's the old time burner, and we've got that amplification matrix, but so far the only person it is benefiting is Piley. Amy coming out on the Doomfist. What? Managed to get the kill, but we have configuration tankful back in. Amy gets in with the zoning fist, knocks them out, can't get anything out of it, and then 10-10 there with the melee kill takes Shou Chang out. Phantom Wizard still in the fight. Flag Gaming do not want to let this go. Destiny finally has that Dragon Blade online, finds Mask, wants the D-Mech, Meteor Strike comes in, not able to find anything, does get the D-Mech, and we've got a Pilot Diva form left on the point, doing a lot just to keep that alive until, of course, Amy with the Doomfist getting a quick double, taken out themselves by Shocheng, who came back in on the Tracer. But if you're Flag Gaming at this point, you're just playing for every second that you can find. A pretty good hold, really.
It just makes me think of that meme that's like, I'm sorry to say that Amy is in hospital after having back surgery from carrying this whole team. I mean...
I'm afraid you'll never walk again.
Yeah, right. Like, well, yeah, good job, Lucius, on roller skates. But switching back to his main hero now, and Phantom Wizard actually have a few ultimates coming into this next fight. Now, once again, they're going to be needing to watch out for the Bob, but they could get a sneak. Having the Ana, having Keto on the Ana, means that if you get that sweep onto the Bob and then deal in the damage in the meantime, just don't wake Bob up. Easy.
Yeah, just don't shoot Bob forehead. It's as simple as that. Phantom Wizard getting one out of the back of that self-destruct, gets the D-Mech also, buys a ton of space, of course, for Mask to get in and start just layering in that damage. Chaser gets a Yao Xie also. So this is looking pretty good for Phantom Wizard. In comes the dive onto Chaser. From Chaser, even Bob on the field also. Hack comes in onto Piley. Mask getting to Chaser with the Primal Rage, gets rid of Piley over on the Ana also. So Flag Gaming looks like they may temporarily be in charge here as Bob gets the D-Mech and 10-10 taken down. Also Yao Xie chasing down Keto, takes him down. That is going to be Flag Gaming holding on to the point for now.
I'm very happy to have not seen Phantom Wizard in their panic waste any of those 3 key ultimates, the EMP, the Nano, or the Dragon Blade, because they should all be used in conjunction with one another, and it's likely, / possible that they will come and do that in this next fight. But Flag Gaming, the way they're positioned, makes it very hard for those dash resets to actually be useful, as they're all quite far away from one another. So it's just going to be about looking for that opportunity or forcing Flag Gaming's positioning. But they have that support ultimate that can really help them out. Oh, here we go.
Well, yeah, Nano boosted Dragon Blade. Keto in the meantime finding Shocheng not so far out of this Dragon Blade, buys a bit of space. Dive coming in from Chaser. Destiny still there, uses the Reflect, not able to find any kills. So 2 ultimates thrown in for not a huge amount. And in the meantime, Melons comes in with the Primal Rage, gets 2. Feng Lian also. Mask once again, just on the low ground, able to pile in damage, secures the D-Mech. Will have the Bob ready to go inside the next couple of seconds. Phantom Wizard threw 2 at that fight and got the payload, well, not very far at all. And of course, we've got a nice big stagger onto the pilot form.
And now we're seeing Phantom Wizard actually making some swaps, kind of going more towards that Goats-esque composition, with Keto going onto the Zenyatta, and then Destiny switching back over to the Brigitte here. So actually, maybe see a better Brigitte than we did than when Pain was playing the Brig, but they're going to be playing into a lot of ultimates. Key here is that all of Flag support ultimates are up, so they are going to be so safe, and there's only half a minute left.
Yeah, these need to be a really good EMP out of Pain, because we've seen a number of times them miss key targets, and the Bob on the field doing a huge amount of work alongside Mask with the primary fire, completely cleaned up that fight, and we did see Pain use the EMP there also.
Less than 10 seconds now. The question is, will Phantom Wizard even get to the payload, Phil?
Well, it's not looking likely. Oh, they just managed to do it with a Primal Rage coming out from Chaser. They secure the overtime, but take a huge amount of damage. They've not even really got any ult to try and force this. They're just trying to save a bit of face by getting control of the payload over at the end. Pain getting pressured out by the Winston of Melons. And that is going to be it. Phantom Wizard halted in the middle of point B. Flag Gaming going 3-0 in the series.
Chaser had like 0.005 HP when he did that, and it was bounced straight into the air. It wasn't enough though.
Yeah. Well, to talk us through what we saw in that last round, we're going to be going back to our analyst, Naori. Why don't you break down some of the key points of that one?
Big thing that I noticed, Mask on the Ashe, way better than his Sombra. My biggest issue was that it felt like he was holding Bob for like the next map. He just kind of held on to it literally forever. And I know that you have the danger of the Ana sleep and whatever. There's all of those things, but you can't keep holding on to your ultimate forever. Geo, you mentioned the 7-man advantage can't be understated. It was something that they really needed to use. You can build up another one. Your ult charge is fantastic. Your aim is good. good, you were getting spicy dynamites, use that ultimate, man. Also, something that I noticed that Phantom did, they first engaged their Nano Chaser, who then primaled, and they didn't have it for the Blade, and then they started doing some weird swap-offs. We saw Amy on Doomfist. Like, learn to disengage. If things aren't going the way you planned, disengage, come back with your ultimates. It really messed up their ult economy. Then they went back to the fusion dive and got so little value when they eventually got that Nano Blade out, because as you guys mentioned, the composition that Flag were running is an incredibly split up composition. It's all about crossfire, it's all about creating space from different angles. So Genji gets very little value out of that. They just weren't able to get the picks that they needed, they weren't able to get the damage that they needed, and ultimately they got held. That's something that they really need to look at, just making sure they're running the right compositions.
Yeah, I think the thing with Phantom Wizard is they're falling short of Flag Gaming when they're doing mirror matchups, so they're kind of trying to change things and do it a little bit differently. And of course they went for the Genji Sombra in response to the bunker composition that Flag were running on first point. And great, that's not something that's too uncommon going against a bunker composition, because the idea is you get in behind the shield and then you can do the whole dash reset nano blade thing. But they didn't have that available on first point. So then they moved on to this point that isn't as favorable for that kind of composition, and they sort of had to deal with it, because otherwise they would have been wasting their ultimates and going back down to 0. And they just they just need to, I guess, build up their ultimates a little bit faster, and obviously it's hard to deal the poke damage Genji requires into that kind of bunker composition, but just do better, lol. I mean, yeah, it's hard to kind of say anything that's sort of more than that when I mean, Naori's right, it does come down to the fact that they just didn't have the right resources at the right time.
Yeah, well, we've got one more map coming out of you. Flag Gaming have secured the W. Let's see if Phantom Wizard can redeem themselves and take at least one map in the series, but we'll be back after a very short break. Welcome back, everybody. Here we go. The last map of the series between Flag Gaming and Phantom Wizard. Phantom Wizard have one more shot at getting at least 1 point in this series, but from what we've seen so far, it looks like it's going to be an uphill struggle for them to manage that.
When you said they've one more shot, I thought you were going to say they've won, and I was going to be like, no, they haven't.
Like, look, I know I don't pay a huge amount of attention, but I do pay at least that much attention.
Yeah, they have an opportunity to make it not a 4-0, and they already got 4-0 last week, so obviously this is, if they do get 4-0'd, really going to kind of nail them into the bottom of the standings. And okay, it's only week 2, there's still time to turn things around, and being a team that was kind of lifted out of trials, they are kind of playing against teams that perhaps of a slightly different caliber to them, and they've got some time to get used to things and figure out what their style and identity is, but also it's kind of not an excuse, and they don't want to end up in a position where they can't even pick up a single map throughout the Contenders season. So yeah, they have got a lot to do. They did a little bit better than I actually thought they would on Hollywood. I'll be completely honest about that one. But going into Havana, it will be interesting to see what it is that they end up bringing out. Now, in most instances of Havana that I personally have gone through and kind of looked at, is a lot of goats, particularly on the second point. The second point is a very big goats point, and you sometimes see bunker on the first point, but this is a very defender-favored map. So Phantom Wizard, they are going to be starting off on the defense first, so they don't have an excuse. Okay. But they're actually going to be starting up very, very close, which could, in theory, allow them to fit in another fight as the payload starts to move along this first point.
Yeah, you never expect to finish the map by holding them in spawn, but it's about buying yourself a bit more time to do stuff with.
Yeah, we want to see them actually building up quite a bit of ult charge in this early fight.
Yeah, Chaser getting really heavily focused. The angle there from Math takes Chaser out of the fight. Destiny is able to find me. In fact, Destiny coming up big, finds 2. Of course, the respawns are going to be so heavily in favor of the attacking side here. It doesn't really matter, but again, it's about building up ultimates. 60% of your ultimate already in the fight is pretty good. It's whether or not you can get use out of the Dragon Strike against a comp like this.
And I actually found that really interesting at the start, how Flag Gaming knew that Phantom Wizard were going to be playing aggressively, so they brought out the Baptiste and immediately put down the Immortality field so that the fight that was ensuing was happening within that field. And now the Amp Matrix is already out.
Yeah, and we're going to see Phantom Wizard back away out of it. Do not want to feed over too much ult charge. We're going to take too much damage. And of course, Yaoxie's ult is going to generate so quickly in this. You can kind of throw those out where you want just to buy a little bit of zoning. But Flag Gaming are coming up here pretty much uncontested so far. Phantom Wizard need to get in and start doing some of that. Hack onto Destiny might just be enough to stop them getting off the Dragon. They have got it online and are in a position to use it if they can find the angle to get something done with it. Destiny finds Yaoxie over on the Baptiste. That's going to be 1 kill at least going out for them in this fight, but it might not be enough to do anything with. As we see Shoucheng take Destiny, Feng Mian hot on the tails, getting Pain down also. That is going to be Flag Gaming taking that and honestly making it look kind of easy.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that 1010 didn't throw his Graviton Surge down just before he died, because that is something that we have seen happen a number of times in this series thus far. But Phantom Wizard, they're just going to start setting up their defense. Not entirely sure why Chaser is out here when the rest of his team is still yet to get to him, because now he's already been discorded and his shield health is going to be going down. But I think everyone's back with him now, so they're going to start moving up. He's very close to the Earth Shatter as well.
Yeah,
and the Graviton Surge is out.
Yeah, 1010 has used the Graviton Surge, and that charge coming out from Chaser didn't actually contact in the way you would have liked it, but Pain and 1010 able to start getting kills of their own as Phantom Wizard finally show up to this fight and start doing stuff.
It's interesting how Destiny has actually remained on the Hanzo, because this point is not necessarily the most Hanzo of points. Perhaps he just wants to build up to another Dragon Strike. Maybe he thinks he's going to get more value on the Hanzo than switching over to the Brigitte and having Pain play the Sombra. I suppose that makes sense. His Sombra's not particularly... It's not awful, but it's not the best in the world. I mean, I guess just play to whatever you feel your strengths are, but it's certainly not as kind of traditional Havana hero.
No, and you know, you've been playing this Sombra composition all game so far, and it's not worked out for you. Shatter comes out from Chaser. Sound barrier from Amy gives them a lot of space to aggress into Flag Gaming. Might not have been the biggest, most impressive use of a sound barrier as the hack comes out onto Phantom Wizard also. 3 caught in the hack, 4 caught in the hack. Graviton Surge out also with the Dragon in over the top, but Flag Gaming are just able to do too much damage for Phantom Wizard to really get anything done with those ultimates.
The Dragon though... Yeah, the Dragon there was really to try and discourage Flag Gaming from cleaving into the Graviton Surge, but it didn't really matter because it's not just a Reinhardt dealing the damage. And actually, the biggest mistake the Phantom Wizard made was in that moment where Amy used the sound barrier after the Earth Shatter and Flag Gaming started to back out and they were all low health. That was the perfect moment for them to over-aggress of all times. Come on, Chaser. Whereas he just stood in the doorway because they could have won that because they had so many shields, they had so much support, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, they absolutely can. But now that's now both rallies on the field, and 1010 able to get Melons out, which is a nice big opening. Losing the main tank makes it a very difficult fight to win. But of course, you've got to be able to capitalize on those opportunities to get something done. Chaser now able to find Feng Mian in the fight. Also, Destiny still up, getting closer and closer to this Dragon, which, you know, hasn't necessarily been the most impactful, but it's certainly brought them a lot of opportunities so far.
Yeah, but look, Mask is so close to the EMP, and in this small room, it can be actually pretty key of an ultimate, especially if he just throws that Translocator up into the air and gets everybody in the center of the room. And everyone's so close that Flag Gaming can just come in and cleave into it, damage into it, do whatever. There's not very much space to run. Seen this in many Overwatch League games, how much impact the EMP can have in this room. So Keto, once again, got to make sure you have that Transcendence ready if that happens, but Flag Gaming have theirs also to respond.
Yeah, this is absolutely all about where
There's the
your
EMP.
supports are positioned. EMP coming out. PkMnPanda gets 10-10 already early in the fight. EMP comes out. Destiny falling as a result, getting focused down by Yaoshe. Shocheng has another Graviton Surge ready to go. Probably not going to need it here. Keto does get a parting blow, but that's going to be all that is online for for Phantom Wizard as Flag Gaming push in and complete point 2.
And Phil, I mentioned how point 2 is so defender heavy, and yet they've managed to make it look so easy just to kind of breeze on through, and now they're over here to the 3rd point, which is a point that has less opportunity for the defenders to cover the whole way, because as you get to this bridge, you want to start moving back and disengaging so that you can then have the high ground, but in comes the grab.
Yeah, big Graviton Surge and 2 kills out of that already. 10-10 is able to find PkMnPanda, and again, a Dragon thrown in to try and discourage some of that damage, but you've already lost so many members of your team, unless that was just to get rid of the ult and come back in another hero in the thought that you might get another crack at it, and they are going to be coming out over on the Sombra now for Destiny, but not long left to go in this map.
Finally switching over onto that Sombra, but is there even going to be the time for him to build up the EMP, especially when Mask is so close? And this is what I was saying, how as the defending team, you won't want to be defending up close to the payload at this point. You want to be taking these high grounds, although they're not even doing that, they're just holding in the choke point.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much your last chance for a fight.
Yeah, Destiny does get a nice hack off onto the Reinhardt there, buys a bit of space for Chaser
Stunned
to
out.
throw in the Shatter, doesn't actually get a huge amount out of it. The counter Shatter comes out again, so not a huge amount from that also, although we're going to see a Fire Strike and a Charge Skill coming out from Melons there as Flag Gaming continue this inexorable march towards the end of the map. And unless we can get a last-second contest here, it's not going to be a huge amount of chance left for Phantom Wizard to get a lot done. Wrecking Ball comes out, is going to tick the contest timer into existence, buys time for Chase to get back in, puts a bit more bulk on the point, ready for them to go and keep this alive and burn off just as much time as they can manage. But of course, the focus here, when you've only got a handful of heroes left on the point, and all 6 of Flag Gaming, means that it's going to be very hard to keep that contest going in a meaningful way.
And Flag have just been so much more attentive in this round than we saw of them last week. You know, the fact that at the end there, Mars just went up to go and hack Destiny as he saw him kind of flitting around on that high ground. They've been really ensuring that they have an idea of what's going on around them. And that's a nice improvement and adaptation that I've seen from them compared to the performance that we saw from them last week.
Yeah, it is. But I feel like Phantom Wizard are now trying some new stuff. You know, it's great that they haven't been able to get the mileage out of the Sombra variant that they might have wanted. So sure, let's throw in a Hamzah, see if that works. But it's still not enough to, you know, Flag Gaming are so good at adapting and focusing down targets compared to Phantom Wizard that all this slightly interesting stuff Phantom Wizard are trying to do just isn't showing up any results.
And the sort of, well, I don't want to say embarrassing thing, but the thing is, like, Flag Gaming aren't at the top of the leaderboards right now. So if this is how Phantom Wizard are faring against, like, a mid-table team like Flag Gaming, then I'm not entirely sure how they're going to deal with facing a much higher team later on in the season. Because, yes, you're right, it's great that they're kind of trying different things, seeing what fits for them. But as they start to face these more well-put-together teams that have a much better idea of what they're doing, much stronger coaching, the academy teams, things like that, that's when coming up with those sort of strange compositions is going to be even more exploited. So, yes, on one hand, good, you're trying something. On the other hand, just get better at the actual thing. It doesn't work that way, but
your coaching is maybe not the most positive.
Oh, I'd be a terrible coach.
Yeah,
I'd be an awful coach.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it. Phantom Wizard out already. A slightly less aggressive hold coming out on the defense for Flag Gaming already. Phantom Wizard not quite able to get the kills they might like. Hack comes out, but boy, Flag Gaming, in the space of about a couple of animation frames, just knocked 3 out of commission. And going to continue this hold. Yaoshi coming out on the Baptiste once again.
Yeah, again, he did the same thing with the Immortality Field, and that meant that Phantom Wizard were dealing with bringing down the 250 HP that had before they were actually focusing on any of the targets. But now Flag Gaming, they've moved back a little bit, going to be holding on the corner, which is a pretty strong place to hold as it has quite a lot of cover. But it's really interesting with this Mei here. Mei's pretty dangerous for tanks. You know, she can freeze them up, bring them down fairly easily. She can get in very close. But this is a very wide map, and the wall I don't see having quite as much value as potentially on other maps.
No, maybe once we get into second point, it can be useful. Although, having said that, does manage to get a separation there, but luckily Xiaocheng had the personal barrier there ready to go and did manage to get out of that. But the follow-up is quite good here, using up all of your cooldowns on the Mei to get out of dodge. Maybe not what you'd like to see this early on in the fight, but again, I like that we're seeing adaptations coming out of Phantom Wizard. They've just got to figure out how to make them work.
I think it was maybe Florida Mayhem who tried doing Mei here on their first time doing Havana, but the EMP is the important thing here. There we go.
Yeah, and over on top of the rally also, Blizzard does come out from Destiny, and 1010 manages to get rid of Mask in that. Keto using the Blizzard, able to get Melons out of the fight as well. So, not out of this fight just yet, Phantom Wizard. They have received, unfortunately, the business end of a Graviton Surge, and it's just going to be Destiny left alive on the point, trying to keep this going. Gets focused down pretty quickly, and Phantom Wizard once more sent back to spawn.
Yeah, we saw Destiny actually try to flank around the Amp Matrix, but it really was the Graviton Surge that just pulled them straight back in. And then as the damage came through the Amp Matrix, that of course sent them all back to spawn fairly quickly. And Flag Gaming just rotating these ultimates so well here. They constantly have one, at least one, online, but now Sound Barrier coming out to initiate for Phantom Wizard.
Yeah, it's going to be an aggressive one, and a Graviton Surge also out from 1010. Manages to get the Immortality Field. Chaser goes down also as a result of all that activity. And Xiaocheng, with a reasonable amount of charge, able to do a lot of damage in terms of burning through some of these resources. And Phantom Wizard even have had to back off a little bit. They've got another rally in the fight already, but we have lost Keto early on in the fight, and so it's going to be kind of hard for them to get on top of that and really capitalize on it without all that damage boost available.
And here's the disappointing thing for Phantom Wizard, is Flag Gaming double stacked their support ultimates, but Phantom Wizard didn't have anything that they could exploit that with. So as they come into the next fight, I'm expecting to see Xiaocheng use his grab. There we go.
Yeah, and that is going to be a Graviton Surge in to try and counter the Blizzard. The Blizzard so far not doing a huge amount. It has secured a kill onto Yaoshi thanks to a Fire Strike out from Chaser. EMP coming out also from FG Mask, and that's going to be another round of cleanup coming in from Flag Gaming.
And it just goes to show that even if you are in this advantageous, well, not you personally, but even if Phantom Wizard are in these advantageous positions, they just are not in a situation where they can capitalize on them. They don't build their ultimates fast enough. They use them a little bit willy-nilly, so they don't have them at the moments where it really matters. And that was a mistake that Flag Gaming made that wasn't able to be capitalized on, and now they're not going to be able to touch the card.
No, and of course we're now down into overtime, and Pally gets the opening kill with Pain going down also. So really, something pretty miraculous has to happen here from Phantom Wizard if they want to take this any further than this particular corner of this particular point. But Flag Gaming are doing so much to keep themselves in the fight. Graviton Surge comes out also. We've got a bunch more swaps coming off from Phantom Wizard to try and keep this alive. The Wrecking Ball coming out now also. Going to struggle to get a lot done with that. Does manage to get rid of the Immortality Field, but another big hack coming out onto the field. And another Blizzard out from Destiny. I'll say this with Destiny, these blizzards have been generated very, very quickly, and they have bought a lot of space because kills have come in on the back of that. So it might be in overtime, and there may still be people alive from Flag Gaming, but Phantom Wizard could actually take this through to point B.
Potentially, but look, Flag Gaming getting ready for another final engage before it actually caps on the point. And once again, Xiaocheng has a grab.
Yeah, grab ready to go. Charge is big though from Chaser, managing to find Mask in that. Keto goes down as a result, and that's going to be a quick 1, 2, 3, 4 kill coming out for Flag Gaming, and they're going to take that to 4-0 in the series. It's an unfortunate showing for Phantom Wizard.
They just made it look so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, to talk about exactly how easy Flag Gamer made that look, let's throw over to our pet analyst, NaoriMizuki.
Our pet.
Pets?
Pet analyst. She's
Oh,
tame,
Lord.
she's in the house.
Oh lord. Anyways, moving
Across the
swiftly along.
world.
So something that I really noticed is that Phantom seemed quite disjointed, and it seemed like they really struggled to get some focus. You know, they're running good compositions, although the Mei was questionable. As you guys mentioned, not too much value from those Mei walls. You really need to use the Mei with maps that have a lot of choke points where you can really wall off people and get those out of position or forced out of position. So the Mei didn't really work out on that attack of theirs, and that was a little bit unfortunate. Just coming back to their defense, Geo, you mentioned it. The defense is the second point is so heavily favored for the defenders, just in terms of the map geometry and where your spawn is. The attacking spawn is so far away, the defending spawn is right there. You have literally every kind of utility you need to hold that point forever. But because of that kind of disjointed nature amongst Phantom, they weren't able to. And Flag doing exactly what they did on the last map. And again, it was also like it had, you know, the escort payload variable, and they did the same thing. They baited out so many of Phantom's ultimates, used very few of their own, and did that kind of like snowball thing all the way on to third point. Really, the ult economy from Flag has improved a lot as this series progressed. One of the most interesting things I noticed from Flag, though, was them using the Baptiste instead of the Brigitte. You don't see that too often in this GOAT's composition. And while you lose the CC ability from the Brigitte and a little bit of extra kind of protection as the bodyguard for Reinhardt, you gain that invulnerability shield. And as we noticed, that did so much to help keep Flag Gaming in the fight consistently. You also have massive heals that don't rely on you being in the thick of the fight. So I kind of like that swap up.
Yeah, honestly, I think Yaojie made a way better Baptiste than he did a Brigitte. I wasn't too impressed with Yaojie's Brigitte last week. I thought he was very passive. I thought he improved a bit this week, getting some better stuns. But there is kind of the question there as to whether that was because Phantom Wizard made it easier for him to get better stuns and made it easier for them to play a little bit more aggressively. But yeah, you're right. The Baptiste was quite a good option. I think I've only seen it used on this map with a bunker composition, but the fact that they were able to draw the fights into those immortality fields and then force, as a result, Phantom Wizard to use things like their sound barrier and not quite as much their transcendence, but it did sort of drain them of those resources. But I mean, another thing that I also noticed was the fact that Amy switched through loads of things. At the end, Amy went on to Sombra. So, I mean, that is one thing. It just kind of goes to show and kind of display these issues that Phantom Wizard is sort of having, where they've got one member who's trying to cycle through everything and kind of carry the team on their back. They need to all be working a little bit more as a team and understanding what each other's jobs are so that they all have that equal amount of value in their compositions.
Well, hopefully that's a message that Phantom Wizard can take forward if they come back and look at these VODs and maybe figure out where they went wrong. If they want to come and look at the English version of their cast, then obviously that's some very good messaging for them. But that is going to be it for myself and for Geo today, having covered this 4-0 for Flag Gaming versus Phantom Wizard. Naori is going to be staying on because we're going to be handing over to two more wonderful casters. We're going to be going over to Shift and Panda for our next maps in the series. But thank you very much for sticking with us, and I hope you'll be around for the rest of today's Contenders China coverage.